Hello and welcome to my video. Today we're going to prepare for barbecue brisket. We're going to begin with an IBP packer brisket that you might get at Sam's Club or Costco or somewhere similar. I got this one at my local butcher shop. It's about a 14-pound brisket. As you can see, it's still wrapped in the plastic. We're going to go through the process of preparing this brisket for a 10 to 12 hour cook tomorrow. I've removed the brisket from the plastic, placed it on the cutting board, fat side up. I like to trim the fat from the fat side first and then trim what's left on the meat side after we flip it over. So let's get started. The meat side of the brisket, in other words the side without all the fat when you start, is much cleaner. It's not as fatty, although there is some tissue on the back side of this piece of meat. The left side of your picture, towards the back, is where the primary fat is contained. I'm going to go ahead and trim that off, and then we'll be ready to prepare it for seasoning. I've trimmed about all the fat off this brisket that I'm going to at this point. You can see there's still a little bit left. I leave that on. It'll cook off during the cooking process. Remember, this brisket's going to spend 8 to 10 hours on the smoker. Now let's move on to seasoning. I use a Jaccard meat tenderizer to prep the brisket before I apply the rub and spices. I think it does a good job of piercing the meat. It allows the spices to penetrate deeper, and since I started using the Jaccard, my briskets have improved 110%. I apply some PAM cooking oil spray. It helps the rub adhere, and as you can see in my picture, I also apply some Tone's meat tenderizer. I'm using the unseasoned kind because I don't want to add extra salt. My spice rub has quite a bit of salt in it, but this meat tenderizer will help add a little distinction to your smoke ring. Some people say it's cheating, but it will present a much nicer brisket. It will bring out the smoke ring. Some people say it creates a fake smoke ring. Maybe it does. I'm not a scientist, but I like what it does to the overall quality of the brisket once it's sliced. We'll be cooking the brisket in a WSM. I've started some charcoal in a charcoal chimney. I've added some apple wood for smoke flavor, and we're just about ready to put the brisket on. It's been about 15 minutes since I started my charcoal. We're almost ready to go with cooking the brisket. I like to let the temperature level off about 225 before I add the meat. We're almost there. I just put the brisket on the WSM. It sat in the refrigerator overnight, marinating with the spice rub. Stay tuned. In about 10 hours we'll have a finished brisket. The brisket's been cooking now for 3.5 hours. I'm getting ready to flip it from fat side to meat side, which will help with a more evenly distributed bark formation.